So we will start today's assembly with Team Bleu, and Team Bleu will talk about proposal on the amendment of ESP code to ensure safety of RIT. So Team Bleu, please come to the stage.
Good morning, we are Team Bleu.
Please welcome Team Bleu.
We hope our proposal to digitizing ship inspection will contribute according to the IMO SD2.
Please attention to our presentation.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are Team Bleu, and we are going to start our presentation, Proposal on Amendment of ESP Code to ensure safety of RIT. The order of our presentation is background, research subject, problem, and end with proposal and conclusion. Now we will start with background. COVID-19 caused the mass infection of inspectors and sailors. As the risk of ship inspection increased due to the pandemic situation, each country introduced remote service for occasional survey. Remote survey means a survey conducted with photographs or calls without direct surveyor's boarding. For an occasional survey, each country has adopted the extension of a certificate. But the period has been expired due to the prolonged pandemic situation, and now the world has been expanding remote service as a temporary expedient. However, remote survey has problems such as lack of expertise, possibility of getting inaccurate reply, and poor data analysis. And this can have a significant impact on PSC data collection and P&I and maritime safety analysis. Therefore, we need to overcome the limitation of remote survey and the problem of extending certificate by introducing RIT. Accordingly, we are proposing the following amendment. First, we looked into our research subject, RIT. According to ESP code, remote inspection technique is a method of inspection conducted with UAV and ROV without direct physical access of surveyor. Then why does RIT drive attention? It's because of the following three reasons. First, IMO SD2 addresses introduction of new and advancing technology. The expansion of using RIT is consistent with strategic direction. Therefore, new and advancing technology such as RIT is drawing keen attention. The second reason is advantage of RIT. The first factor is technology development. RIT can assess intricate spaces instead of surveyor. Ballast, cargo holds, and cargo tanks are some of those places. In addition, accurate and objective data analysis can be realized by machine learning technology. To sum up, it has three advantages. First, it identifies and quantifies structure deterioration. Second, it provides reliable and consistent evaluation. And lastly, it enables shared understanding of asset status. The second factor is risk management. Enclosed space hazard can be solved by RIT. According to IAC's confined space safer practice, types of hazard in confined spaces are risk of fire and loss of consciousness from asphyxiation. This graph shows the number of fatalities in confined spaces. As we can see, the problem has not been solved for about 2 decades. Through RIT inspection, these fatal problems can be solved dramatically. Lastly, RIT gives cost advantage. Live streaming technology of RIT can reduce the gap of communication between stakeholders and build platform to reduce overtime. In addition, surveyor can avoid using of rafting, cherry pick costs, or staging, and reduce the travel cost of surveyor. From these three perspectives, we can see that demand is rising with RIT's advantage. The last reason is digitization of the maritime industry. Through the mechanism of mast, we can see that inspection also be digitized from a long-term perspective. For that, RT will be a core element for digitization of inspection. Following IMO strategy direction and considering the RT's increasing demand with advantage and digitization of the maritime industry, discussion should be begun from this pandemic situation. Only then the safety can be guaranteed by globally recognized standards along with high advance in technology. Now, I'd like to ask second speaker about problem. Thank you.
Thank you for making a great start. In this part, we'll discuss about the problem related to ensuring the safety of RIT. In the process of preparation, we firstly analyzed the essential difference between surveyor and RIT. While direct inspection is carried out by surveyor, indirect inspection is conducted by service supplier using RIT. Furthermore, service supplier participates in the process as an operator, and the RIT equipment requiring radio communication takes part of the surveyor's vision. Through the analysis, we found out that these two parts are needed to be considered most importantly. Our team conducted the research in 3 ways. First, we compared the contents in the guideline of these classification societies. We found out the differences of acceptance criteria of service supplier and their role of these 5 societies. We found out the need to have new integrated convention for service supplier considering their increasing importance. Regarding the radio communication, even though the core gears of RIT are UAV and ROV, there are few existing safety issue references. Second, we conducted a study of RIT-related contents of IMO regulation. There's an ESP code that contains the basic definition for the usage of RIT. In addition, we studied the IAS guideline for RIT service suppliers. And for the radio communication, we studied SOLAS Chapter 4. In ESP code, basic procedures and requirements for RIT were amended in November 2019. However, the concept of RIT service supplier and RIT radio communication have not been amended in the code. Thus, we carried out a study of IACS URTSAT 17, the procedure requirements for service suppliers. In SOLAS Chapter 4, the existing concept of maritime radio communication with GMDSS only applies to maritime mobile service for disaster relief. Also, between 156 to 174 MHz is the available frequency band for the maritime use, while the suitable frequency band for RIT equipment such as UAV is 2.4 GHz. According to the IMO Strategic Direction 2, the related descriptions have been found in output number 2.1, 2.10, and the amendments to the ESP code is set in other work too. Lastly, we conducted the interview with certain working groups to research the practice. First, we asked the classification society how they define the relationship with service supplier. They responded that they outsource most of the process of service supplier, so there's no guideline defined. However, they also responded that it would be necessary if the significance of role increases as the RIT inspection expands. About the radio communication, they commented that currently, RIT is not a universal method, so it is not the problem at hand. In conclusion, we made our point that the innate problem for RIT radio communication from a short-term perspective isn't recognized. Next, we requested the interview to the Radio Communication Research Institute about their opinion of the need of RIT radio communication. They responded that it is necessary to secure the concept to prepare for related accident caused by radio interference. For that, they emphasized the step-by-step discussion is needed for the proactive response. To sum up, between guidelines of classification societies and IMO regulation, we captured the need to have integrated convention. Furthermore, between working groups and current IMO regulation status, we found out that there's gap between in practice and regulation status. We have come to our conclusion that we need globally recognized standard for safe commercialization. For the next step, I'll hand it over to the last speaker.
Thank you for a thorough analysis. From now on, based on our analysis, we're going to give some proposal for RIT application in two perspectives. We specially focused on service supplier and radio communication. We would like to propose to add a new concept and guideline of service supplier in ESP code. Plus, we also suggest discussing about this concept and guideline in MSc and III. IACS clarified the concept of service supplier by registering keywords such as training and qualification in service suppliers of Eurosat 17. Current ESP code describes the definition of RIT, the scope of use, the procedures for use, and the pre-environment checks of RIT. But there is no mention of service supplier, the main body responsible for conducting the inspection. Therefore, based on the content of IACS Eurosat 17, we propose to insert a new definition and guideline in ESP code. Now, we also suggest establishing the definition of RIT radio communication in ESP code. The following are the factors that need to be introduced to the part of ESP code. Firstly, when comparing SOLAS and RIT, we could see that a new concept of radio communication emerged in the area of the inspection using RIT. Through the emergence of our RIT radio communication, through the emergence of new frequency band called ISM band, which is different from the existing band for rescue signals like GMDSS, we recognize the need for defining the role to secure the frequency safety of service suppliers. The definition of RIT radio communication, a newly created concept from the introduction of RIT, should be added to the definition part of ESP code. We also suggest defining the obligation of prior notice for the safety of ISM band. The urgency of the issue would be discussed within 2 years. Accordingly, we insist on making a discussion in an appropriate committee and subcommittee after the reviewing the proposal in MSc. In other words, we propose a revision for the minimum safety obligation. When discussing about the issue of responsibility after an accident, the due care is assessed by the burden of proof or the exemption of service supplier. Our proposal can perform two roles at the same time: strengthening the regulations and ensuring the service supplier's burden of proof. To sum up then, adding content regarding service supplier and radio communication has the following benefits. The definition of role of service supplier would support the protection of individual rights and training of advanced human resources. Also, it would make a contribution to the successful management of cybersecurity. This figure shows the 5 stages for the development of cybersecurity. For the identify stage, we developed an understanding to manage the risk of systems and data of RIT. In the protect stage, we developed a safeguard for the delivery of critical services. This means that we have made a great start for the successful management of our RIT cybersecurity. I would like to finish by saying that the opportunity to improve these expected effects by the amendment is wide open. Thank you very much for your attention.
Well done, Team Krangblu. It was really interesting presentation. Actually, inspection issue is a big problem in ship sales and purchase market as well because owners cannot check the ship's condition. So we will have a Q&A session. So if you have any questions, please raise your hands. From Judge, any questions? Yes, please.
Thank you, Team Krangblu, for your interesting presentation. I'm a classification surveyor. So according to your proposal is to make RIT, remote inspection technique, to support remote survey, which is to respond to this COVID-19 pandemic situation, right? So, however, why the conclusion is to amend ESP code only? Because ESP code is applicable to only bulk carriers and oil tankers only. However, the problem will be applied to all kinds of ship type, such as container ship, ro-ro ship, and any other cargo ship. So why do you choose only ESP code should be amended? Or do you think any other instrument is to be amended? So could you explain why do you only pointed out ESP code only? Thank you.
First of all, Team Krangblu appreciate your question. And would you give me a moment for preparing? Yeah.
Thank you for your sincere inquiry on our proposal. Since the concept of RIT has emerged in ESP code, we thought that it is necessary to amend in the ESP code firstly. We also insist that for the output number 2.1, which is the modernized concept of maritime mobile service, including the concept that we are proposing by the discussion with the ITU study group and ITU World Radio Communication Conference, we insist that the concept of RIT expands to cover the remote survey in conclusion, because through our analysis, we found out that RIT has advantage that can constitute the remote survey in conclusion. So firstly, we are proposing to put the concept in ESP code since it is started in ESP code, but we are currently thinking as the RIT discussion is expanding, so we thought that it would, in conclusion, we thought that it would accept it to all kinds of things that you have mentioned. Thank you for your inquiry.
Yes, thank you for your reply. So, as far as I understand, you are also agreeing. At first, your proposal should be applied to the ESP application ship type first, and then gradually other ship types should be also applied by your proposal. Is it correct? Yes? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions from participants? Mayor Salutaris. Sorry, the name is very difficult.
Thank you, sir. We are pronounced Mare Salutaris, and we thank Team Bleu for a very insightful presentation. Although I wholeheartedly agree with the dire necessity for the necessity for guidelines regarding the remote inspection techniques, I would like to ask the feasibility of remote inspection technique being applied in the current maritime sector, and also according to IAC's recommendations number 42. It is a document with that consists of only 2 pages, and upon interviewing a related personnel, we were told that the guidelines are yet to be specifically put into place. So, to rephrase my question, I would like to ask how feasible it would be in the current situation, and also, I would like to ask how the RIT relates to the MAS scheme. Thank you very much.
Sorry, relating to what?
The MAS scheme, sir. The Maritime Autonomous Surface Ships, sir.
Thank you for your sincere inquiry. Could you please give us a moment to prepare?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you for your question. We think because data from mass collected during operations such as train information, crew management, and external threat information are collected by equipment associated with RIT, and AI categorize it and automatically and calculate the risk compared to the precedent. Through this method, the inspection can be conducted mainly in our areas and seem to be highly dangerous, thereby enhancing the accuracy and efficiency of ship inspection. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions? PM Master, please.
Thank you, Chair. Your presentation was very impressive. However, we have some concern about your presentation. To realize your proposal, how can the ship accept your proposal? Because we think to realize that there is necessity for introduction of additional equipment and education for seafarers.
Thank you for your asking. Please give us some moment to prepare answer.
Before you answering the questions, if you are not clear what they are asking, you can repeat that question, yeah? And then you should give a right answer, relevant answer.
Thank you for asking. And nowadays, current universal equipments in the RIT universal equipments are ROV, UAV, and robot arms. And we think as the technology advances, the more equipment is developed, and it will be also accepted in the inspection work. But now, these three are the most universal equipment. Thank you.
Thank you for your answer, but I have more question because it's not enough to answer to me because I ask about how the proposal can realize to seafarers.
Yeah, sorry, but time is tight, so I will skip the question. So
Okay.
they ask how the seafarers will be familiar with the new equipment, those kind of things, right? So you should listen to the question carefully, and you should give a relevant answer. Yeah. So we will go to next team. Please, thank you, Bleu, and please go to your sheet.
Thank you for your attention.